All right, good afternoon, family. I am doing just a quick video overview of our slideshow presentation for back to school night. And so I'm going to start off with the first slide, which is what we're doing during setup time. I want to name that this is just for content teachers, so those that are in the schedule pushing in and leading classes. If you are on the floater list at the bottom of the schedule, I'm going to go over with you a little bit more in detail on the first floor lobby for what your specific instructions are throughout the time. Game day once we're ready, and you'll also get this in advance. But if I'm a content teacher, this is what setup looks like. First, just create a pod in the back of the room with 4 desks and a space to place the coloring sheets and a crayon tray in the middle. We're going to have those items in the teacher workroom when you pick up your dinner. It's going to be barbecue. When you pick up your dinner before back to school teacher night, they'll already have crayons in a little tray and coloring sheets printed and ready. So this isn't anything you need to do. You just need to pick them up and take them to your room to set up. It'll also be helpful to write every teacher's name in that grade level on the board, including co-teachers. You are going to be transitioning from room to room, and so it'll just be helpful to be able to point to your name on the board when you travel to that room so that families can identify the name on the board with the name on the rosters that they're going to have in their packets. Also, write the agenda on the board for the evening. Slide 3 is going to include that agenda, and I'll highlight it again once we go through here. Then part of setup is just projecting these slides. There's only 5, and this is already step number 1. So it's going to be a really quick slideshow presentation, more about you, less about what's on the screen. And then finally, I would love for you to internalize the page numbers that you are presenting and the scripts that are embedded. So within this slides presentation, you have pretty detailed scripts of exactly what to say, when to provide wait time, so that you can be practicing this portion in advance with a co-teacher if you are both presenting on your content section, or just with another grade team member if you'd like some feedback. So on the right here, I have a list of materials that you need. Cell phone bin, just to show during the homeroom overview time. Some extra pencils in case families need them. The coloring sheets and the crayon trays that are going to be provided in the teacher workroom. And then projecting these slides. So let's jump in. All right, so the first slide is actually kind of like a running slideshow. When you click, then you're going to see just several pictures pop up on the screen. These are some of the professional photos that were taken last year. It lasts for literally just like 1 minute, so it'll go through pretty fast, and there's 30 minutes when families are coming in. So the directions on this slide are maybe just, exit out, restart it again, click again, just so families can get to see all the photos, because hopefully a lot of these students, they have brought their families in. I'm not going to read all the notes for every slide. I'm going to dig deep, though, when we get to the content overview, because I know that's the one where most folks probably have the most anxiety about what am I going to say during that time period. All right, so we have now reached the end of the intro slide, which you'll just kind of replay on loop as families are coming in for the first 30 minutes. All right, this is slide 3, and this on the left is the agenda that will be written on the board. So the first item for the evening is reviewing homeroom expectations. The second one is meet the teachers and content overviews. And the third agenda item is dismissal by grade level. We want families to get a feel for each of these items as we're going along. All right, there's also during the back to school night, as you are going over this slide, make sure to preview these before you leave items. These are things we want to stamp with families and preview with them now. They're not going to get this information again. So if you have time, you can even review this during afternoon, like the dismissal part, to make sure that they get what they need. Once again, there are detailed scripts and directions for what to say on this slide and timestamps in the presentation. All right, homeroom overview. And so once again, this slide has a lot of detailed stamps on what it is. The big takeaway here is that homeroom is a crucial part to the start of the day and making sure that families walk away with this main idea. This slide includes a link to the homeroom slide, so if you have time, you can pull this up and show them an example of some of the slides that you're showing students, because families may be wondering, like, how does my student know what is the homework, or if they're going to get free dress the next day, or some of the upcoming events. And it's good for them to see what students are seeing every day so that they can hold their student accountable, and we can hold them accountable for making sure that everyone is set and prepared for each day and week. The script on this slide includes directions for how to go through each section, how you can model and walk around and show what's happening during these times. And then same thing, you're going to, and during this time, go over what PM homeroom looks like. All right, so this is a slide where I'm going to do a small model of what the timestamp is going to look like. This is where you actually start doing your rotations, where you are meeting the teachers and doing an overview of your content. So right now I'm showing you what the slide is saying, so take a second just to take it in. There is a one-pager for every content. It's going to also be translated into Spanish. And the hope is, like, when you go over this video in your grade team meeting, that you can have this packet in hand so you can be prepared and start internalizing page numbers at that time. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the notes for this slide just so I can read from what I was saying and do a quick model. So in the notes for this slide, I have the timestamps for each content. Each grade level looks different of which content is going first, second, third, or fourth by homeroom. So just make sure you know your schedule and where you're going to next. All right, so when I get to this slide and I am the teacher or teachers in front, this is what I'm saying. All right, now we're going to transition into our time to introduce ourselves to you and also provide a brief overview of what we're learning in class. Then we will review a sample homework assignment and have some time at the end for questions, either full group or individual, until the time is up once we transition. I just want you to know we may not go in exactly the same order of classes that your student experiences in their day, but you will have the opportunity to review each content one at a time. All right, you can find the overview for each content that your student learns, ELA or English Language Arts, Math, Science, and Social Studies, on page blank. All right, so go ahead and take the time. I'm zooming out now. Take the time to orient them in the packet. So if I'm the ELA teacher, I'm going to tell them page 6 or page 2, whatever that page is. Allow the wait time to turn to the page for the content that you are presenting. Now you introduce yourself. Scene. I am Ms. Randolph, and this is Ms. Mason. And we are going to just introduce ourselves briefly. I have been teaching for about 12 years. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee originally. I do have a family, a husband and a 2-year-old daughter at home. And I enjoy watching game shows, reading books, and then just taking hikes outside in nature and like through nature trails. I love teaching at KIPP Academy Nashville because we are a team and family, a true team and family, and we love and support one another while also holding one another accountable, just like I do in my own family. My teacher personality, I would describe it as being warm yet demanding. I want to make sure that my students know that they can come to me if they have questions, that they have someone to go to. But yet my goal is for them to always be fully engaged, and we focus on our instructional goals to make sure that they are successful. And so now I'm going to review what we're going over in class. All right, so this quarter we are reading A Raisin in the Sun. Raisin in the Sun is a classic novel. Some of you probably read it while you were in schools yourselves, but it's a classic novel that talks through the themes of family and how those families work through conflict and challenges in order to be able to reach towards their goals. Zooming out. I think I got that right, Mr. Basham. You let me know. And so some of the skills or prerequisite skills that students are going to need for reading The Raisin in the Sun is knowing how to provide context clues and also to be able to summarize themes throughout their reading. We're going to be also developing in the skill of creating genre-based thinking jobs in order to answer questions about how these themes can impact daily life. These skills are going to support students in the future as they're transitioning to their high school and potential college and career, so that they are able to make connections in what I'm doing right now and how this translates. We're going to have an end of module assessment next week. And in that end of module assessment, students are going to be asked to write an essay and also answer multiple choice questions. So if you turn to page 3, here's an example of like what ELA homework looks like. For ELA homework, it is mostly just reading and providing annotations within the book. And so what you should be looking at, and the way you can support the kids that are at home, is to make sure that they actually have a quiet, safe space to be able to read every night. And you're also checking like what page numbers are assigned in their agenda, and have they completed those page numbers, and you know it's completed because you should see annotations in the margin of the book. All right. My ELA homework is given every evening, but if I'm a math teacher, I say I give my homework on Mondays or Tuesdays. So I'm zooming out now, providing when this happens. From here, ask for any full group questions that families feel that everyone could benefit from, and then spend the rest of your time circulating the room and just speaking with families. Hey, I noticed your student is really engaged. One thing I want them to work on is tracking a speaker, especially when it's another student. All right, so give some quick adjusting feedback that the families can support on their students' learning habits. Nothing too super personal or deep. This isn't parent-teacher conference night, but some quick adjusting feedback. Right. The next thing to think through is when the time is over, for your 10 minutes is up, go directly to the next class. Reflect. What are some of the questions that you had in the last session, and how can you embed that in the next session? All right. End scene. From here, once you've gone through all of your content classes, then we're going to do dismissal. All right, dismissal will have, there's going to be a link right here to our current dismissal document. And in that current dismissal document, I'll scoot this over here, you have a tab that's already there for back to school night. So they get a feel for what students are seeing in after school dismissal. All right, so we're going to turn it green when it's time for 5th grade to dismiss with timestamps 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. During that dismissal time, all right, what we're looking for is that families kind of monitor or mirror what afternoon homeroom looks like, which is pretty quiet or silent, so that we can hear cues from the hallway. What we want to encourage families to do during that 3-minute time is immediately leave the space they're in now. They've been there for a while, so they're going to be happy to leave. But just do a brief walkthrough, and the students say, hey, I sit in this space in this teacher's class. I sit in this space in this teacher's class, and then exit out. All right, so that should be a quick just transition. Look in the room, just take a peek, and then exit from the first floor lobby. All right, and that is back to school night. What cleanup looks like is just making sure that you reset classrooms. And if you have any questions or feedback, make sure that you share them with your hallway floater or with the ops team. Thanks so much, y'all. It's going to be great. Let me know if you have any other questions or feedback.